Okay. As we are going through a very difficult time, as you all know, in Maharashtra and Mumbai, with this second wave of the pandemic, let's just the basics as to what is COVID-19. So COVID-19 is the name of the disease, but the name of the virus is COVID-2, and it is essentially a virus. And kindly mute yourselves. Everyone, kindly mute yourselves. Essentially a virus, and it's essentially a flu virus, an influenza virus. The difference between this and other influenza virus is that a virus has a very high infectivity. That means if one person gets affected, before even symptoms appear in that person, a lot of people around him within a short duration of time get affected, get infected, and that's why it has led to a very rapid rise in global numbers, and that's why it's a pandemic.
So the symptoms, and I will not get into the specific details, but I want to highlight on what are we really seeing in the second wave. So basically, the current Mumbai strain, there are two different types of strains. Why is it? One thing is that it is affecting much more number of people than what the number of people were getting infected in the first strain. So, for example, in the currently one infected person is infecting at least more people, and two variations which we have seen is that sometimes patients just feel a very mild sore throat, body ache, a little bit of fever, and they just go to their physician or they just self-medicate and they feel fine. But after a week, we see that their oxygen saturation levels have dropped to less than 90 and they come up with breathlessness. So the virus, instead of presenting with a sore throat, a fever, and constitutional symptoms that we had in the first wave, now is directly attacking the lungs, and that is why sometimes when you do an RT-PCR test, it comes negative. But when we ask them to get a CT scan done, and we see that they have a very severe viral pneumonia. So point to be noted that even if you're feeling that your health is a little different than what you have been feeling the previous day, a little bit of a body ache, a little bit of a sore throat, you feel feverish, please check your temperature on the thermometer. Because you might not feel the fever, but the thermometer might show that your temperature is 99 or your temperature is 100. If your temperature is more than 95, you should definitely get an RT-PCR done. You should definitely isolate yourself. There are certain unusual presentation in the second wave. They can present with red eyes, conjunctivitis, or there can be a skin rash, or they can have a very severe headache. These are slightly more complicated cases than what we were seeing in the first wave. Another point to note is that a lot of youngsters in this current wave are getting affected. People who are between the age group of 30 and 50 are going into complications very fast. So we would want them to, even if they don't have any comorbid conditions, they are going into complications. Also, children are getting affected, young children. Last year not many children were getting affected, but in the current second wave, the number of infectivity in children has gone up. So please keep them at home. Do not let them go for birthday parties or go down to the playground. These strict precautions need to be maintained at least for the next 1 month, because we are expecting the cases to become much more infective in number as compared to what we are seeing now.
Few points about the second wave. So basically, a virus, any virus, by its very nature, mutates. It changes its nature, and that's why we are seeing different variants, like the South African variant, the Brazilian variant, the UK variant. Now, the current variant, which is in circulation in Mumbai and Maharashtra, is more infective. It is supposedly a double mutant. And what we are seeing in the last 2 weeks is definitely more younger people and more children are getting affected, and even they are going into complications and requiring admission and even mechanical ventilation. So what are the reasons for this second wave? Obviously mutation and a new strain which is more aggressive and more infective than the last year one. That's why we are seeing more cases than last year as compared to last year is the major reason. But as it is a lockdown and the situation where we have been in for the last 12 to 13 months is not ideal for economy. So there is opening up of the relaxation of lockdown and opening up of the economy, which leads to obviously more crowding, and that has also led to an increase in second wave, or rather increase in infections. Vaccination, as we all know, started from January and for the general public from February. And people after taking the first dose have started letting down their guard, and as if they are immune from COVID even after the first dose, which is not the case. And that has obviously led to increase in rather a decrease in COVID appropriate behavior, and an increase in cases. And obviously a lot of people have gone for recreational traveling and trips, which is also one of the major contributors. Now coming to prevention.
This is the most important point of this presentation. This is what we want every one of y'all to who is listening to do and to promote what we are about to speak, because this will definitely prevent you all from getting an infection.
So masking and double masking. If you ask me what is the most primary weapon we have in this war against COVID, is a mask. And seeing the current pandemic and the current wave, double masking and double masking is our primary tool. What do I mean by a double mask? A double mask should consist of an N95 mask and a 3-ply mask. I'll show you. So this is an N95 mask, which is now available because of the government regulations. It is now available for 50 to 60 rupees, any company. And this is a 3-ply surgical mask. This is available for 3 rupees a piece. So how to wear it? First, I'll show you that. The correct way to wear a mask. The mask should be covering the portion of your face from the root of your nose till the underside of your chin. Yeah, and there should be no loose gaps. You should pinch the nose clip so that there is no escape. And upon that, you wear a 3-ply mask like this. This will definitely decrease your chances of getting an infection by a huge proportion. Now, how frequently to use the mask, whether to wash the mask or not, are some questions we get. So these masks should never be washed. The cloth mask, which some people wear, and you might wear if you are going for short trips within the building, something like that, is a cloth mask is fine. But if you are going to your workplace, obviously we can't stop work. So you wear these 2 masks. So you should not wash them. If you wash these masks, they become useless. So what we suggest is what we doctors have been following over the last 1 year, and suggested by AIIMS also, is a 4 mask cyclical method, wherein you buy 4 sets of such masks. Okay, 4 N95, 4 3-ply masks, and what you do is you either you take 4 Ziploc bags or 4 paper bags, and you number them 1, 2, 3, and 4. You put one set of masks in each of them. So in day 1, suppose on Monday you take both the masks from bag 1, you go to work, you wear the same mask, you come back, you remove the mask, and on day 2 you put on the day 1 you put the mask back into bag number 1. On day 2 you remove the mask you wear the mask from bag number 2, put them back at the end of the day, so on and so forth till day 4. On day 5 you can again go back to the first set of masks in bag 1. So you can do this for approximately 4 to 5 cycles, so almost 20 days, and so it can almost last you a month. And the cost of this is approximately a month is 200 to 250 rupees, which I don't think in the current situation is a very huge investment. It is very cost effective, because if by chance you get COVID and you require admission, the minimum minimum expenses in a private setup nowadays for even 5 days of admission is anywhere between 1.5 to 2 lakhs. Okay, so I think as we are saying, we are again and again stressing that double masking is the way to go in this pandemic. Do not use masks with valves. Do not touch your face, and always sanitize your hands before removing or donning a mask.
If you're going to vaccination centers to take vaccine, please wear a double mask and go, because we are seeing n number of patients who have gone to the vaccination center, have taken the vaccine. We feel that it is the side effect of the vaccine, but the fever continues. We do an RT-PCR and they are positive. So vaccination is important, but wearing a double mask at the vaccination center is as important.
Yeah. So these are the correct ways to wear a mask. This guy is wearing a double mask. There's a mask which is obviously, the first mask is covering his face from the root of the nose to the underside of the chin, and there is another cloth mask over it. Again, this person is also wearing the mask correctly. The nose clip is pinched properly. Never wear mask without holes, and children less than 2 years old should not wear masks. In addition to masking, obviously regular hand washing and sanitization is the one of the major ways in which we can prevent infection, because obviously if we don't, if the major mode of infection is the hands getting infected, and whenever we touch our face, they're entering our nasal or oral cavities. Physical distancing, obviously at the workplace or at in public places of at least 6 feet with the mask is very important. At least for the next 1 month, we suggest that there should be no social visits or gatherings. Just don't visit your friends or your family if you're feeling bored at home. Right now is not the time for that. One responsible person in the family should only step out for any work or essentials. And we strictly advise that children should not go play with their friends either indoors or outdoors for the next 1 month. It is for our own safety, because if children get infected, obviously we are worried about children and we are seeing complications in children. But on the off chance, even if they are asymptomatic carriers, they can become super spreaders. So because they can infect many more people, especially the senior citizens in our family. So that's why please don't let children go out of the house for the next one. I know it is very difficult, and we are finding it very difficult to find ways to keep our children engaged at home. But this is a tough time, and you try to find out ways to engage with your children at home, but please don't let them go.
So when should we test if we are having symptoms? As I said earlier also, should you feel even a mild fever, you have to get an RT-PCR done. That is the gold standard for diagnosis. It can so happen that the RT-PCR can come negative when you're doing it for the first time, especially in the current mutant. If the fever continues, we repeat a sample and we retest with RT-PCR. A lot of people, they just go to the labs and get a COVID package testing done. It has a lot of tests which are useless, which are expensive. So please don't do that. Please don't go and self-test yourselves. We've also seen a lot of patients going and getting a CT scan done in the first 2 or 3 days, or even if the doctor has not advised, they will rush to a CT scan center out of panic. CT scan has indications, okay? Mild infections, if they are doing well at home, don't need a CT scan to be done. Let your doctor advise you when to get a CT scan done. CT scan becomes sensitive after 4 days of getting an infection. So if you do a CT scan on day 1 and day 2, you're not going to get any picture. It's not going to give you any answer. So let your doctor advise you. The only indication of getting a CT scan done, and if you've still not contacted your doctor, is when your oxygen levels drop less than 94. That is the time when we want to know that how severe is the pneumonia. But please do not self-test. Please don't rush to CT scan centers, and please get an RT-PCR done whenever you have fever. There will be certain other blood tests which will be recommended based on the other health conditions that you have by your doctor. So let your doctor decide that what tests you need to do and how frequently you need to do them. We recommend all our patients to keep a COVID kit ready at home. Like how we have a first aid kit, the things that each household should have is a digital thermometer or a thermometer is also fine, but the thermal guns or infrared thermometers, which you just scan over the forehead, they don't give you an accurate reading. So please don't buy these thermometers that are there on the screen. All right, invest in a good digital thermometer or a normal mercury thermometer. The other thing that is of paramount importance, and especially when we are managing patients at home, is a pulse oximeter. Also, what happens is that sometimes, the batteries are low, you've not changed the batteries, that can give you a false low reading. So always have an extra set of batteries in the kit. If there are senior citizens at home and if there are any comorbid conditions like blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, or other health conditions, it is worth to invest in an digital blood pressure monitoring machine. Because if you are in a home quarantine, doctors will need these values to understand how you are doing health wise. You can have paracetamol tablets and the cough syrups that you usually take when you get a viral fever. Keep these things ready at home. Keep a chart or a diary which has all the essential phone numbers, mobile number of your family doctor. In case you get infected, who will be your caretaker, who will do all the running about outside the house. So choose that person and have that number handy. Everybody, please keep the phone number of your BMC ward war room ready, stored in your phone, because 80% of the beds now have been taken over by BMC, and if you need admission, it will happen via BMC. Getting beds through private hospitals does take a long time. So, get the if the person requires admission, get your patient listed on the BMC ward war room. Have a number of the local chemists who can home deliver medicines to you. Unfortunately, in the last few days, we have encountered many patients, where the oxygen starts dropping. We are waiting for the patient to get admitted to the hospital. But what do we do till the patient is taken to the hospital? We might need to start them on oxygen at home. So have the number of oxygen suppliers who will deliver, where you can get the oxygen should oxygen therapy start at home. Also, because now we are seeing that almost everybody within the family is getting infected with COVID, maids will not be allowed to come in, extra help will not be allowed to come in. So what can you do? Have numbers of local tiffin service that can deliver tiffin at your home. And most importantly, we really need to teach the WhatsApp technology and to make video calls to our senior citizens and their family who don't know how to use smartphone. God forbid, should they get admitted to the hospital, every time a doctor or the nurse in the hospital will not be able to give you a feedback. It leads to a lot of panic to relatives in the house that, how is my mother doing? How is my father doing? If they know how to use a WhatsApp, they can talk to you directly. So make sure that you teach them how to use a WhatsApp phone.
So what to do if this was the preparedness and the prevention part? So what to do if you test positive or you have symptoms? Is first of all is obviously immediate isolation, preferably in a room with an attached bathroom. Second thing is get all family members tested, because with the current strain we are seeing that generally if one person is infected, by the time the symptoms come, everybody else in the family is also infected. Do not panic and start self-medicating. There is a lot of organizations with so many WhatsApp forwards giving lists of medicines to be given or rather to be taken, self-administered. If you have this oxygen and if you have to take this, take that, falana, don't believe them. Contact your treating physician or your family doctor and then then take his advice and start treatment. Do not self-medicate. That's because what we are seeing nowadays is, rather than COVID itself, it is the side effect of unnecessary medicines being given, which is causing more problems in the patient and landing them in the hospital.
I spoke earlier also that pulse oximetry is one of the most paramount indication which tells us how the patient is dealing with a COVID infection. So how do you check pulse oximeter? It has to be used on fingers. You can switch it on. It will give you two readings. One is SpO2 in percentage wise. So that will tell you how much is your oxygen level. And the other reading is a PRPM, which is pulse rate per minute. Okay, anything which is in percentage, which is above 95, is your saturation, your oxygen saturation, and PR is the pulse rate, that is per minute. Saturation less than 95 is a concern. Less than 94 definitely requires admission. What should you do is you should check your oxygen levels at rest. Then
Just a sec, sorry for the interruption. This meeting might end in 10 minutes. You can log in again using the same link.
so you should walk for 6 minutes by the clock and check whether the saturation is dropping or it is not dropping. Okay, so a 6 minutes walk test is what you should do, and maintain a chart. People who have comorbidities should check their oxygen levels every 4 to 5 hourly. And so many a times what happens is the batteries have run out and there can be a false reading. Do not panic if there's one false. Just change the batteries and check again. But if there are consistent readings that show saturation less than 94, definitely there's a reason to worry, and we need to get this person admitted to the hospital. High risk patients, patients who have blood pressure, patients who have diabetes, kidney problems, liver problems, heart problems, cancer survivors who are on immunosuppressant drugs. And what should they do right now? Make sure that all your metabolic parameters are under control. Have an online consultation with your physician, and just check if your BP is fine, whether your sugars, if they are high, consult your doctor and bring your sugars under control. If you need to get any testing done to check what your metabolic parameters are, for example, your creatinine is high or whatever needs to be done, please keep everything under control, because if your metabolic parameters are out of order, you will take a longer time to recover from the ailment.
Coming to the second part, vaccination. As we all know, again, that vaccination was started for the general public from 1st March. And right now, all citizens above 45 years of age are eligible for the vaccination. So currently in India, 2 vaccines are available: Covishield, or the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and the Indian-made Covaxin. Both require 2 doses to be taken at an interval of 4 weeks. Although recently the government recommended increase in the interval for Covishield to 6 to 8 weeks. If this is our personal opinion, obviously we don't want to go against any authorities, but what we recommend is, because the second wave is so rampant right now with the number of infections, we will suggest that you take it after 4 weeks, because the more the interval between, because we are seeing a lot of patients getting infected after the first dose. So if we increase the interval between, rather decrease the interval between the 2 doses, the lesser are the chances of catching an infection in that shorter interval period. And so if you get infected after the second dose, you are more protected. Which one to take? If you have a choice, we will say take Covishield, because more studies and more data are available regarding its use. But if you're getting any vaccine, you please take any of the above. If you don't have a choice, both are equally safe. If a person gets a COVID infection after the first dose, the recommended interval to take the second dose since from the first day of infection is 90 days right now. The only absolute contraindication, or rather the indication to not take the vaccine right now, is a previous severe allergic reaction to any previous vaccine in your life. And if the patient is on some specific blood thinners, you please consult your physician and before taking the vaccine. We would like to again reiterate the point that when you go to because we are seeing lots of cases who go to the vaccination center and come back with the virus. So wear a double mask and carry a hand sanitizer bottle whenever you go for vaccination. And we would also recommend that patients which Snehal mentioned in the high risk category, please also get yourselves vaccinated with the influenza and pneumococcal vaccines.
The reason being that it is the Influvac and pneumococcal vaccine will not prevent you from getting COVID infection, but high risk patients can get flu, pneumonia, or pneumococcal pneumonia, which is a bacterial infection, and we don't want hospitalizations taking place because of these preventable infections. So high risk categories, most of your physicians will advise you all to take these vaccines, and just protect yourself from diseases that can be prevented and which can prevent hospitalization, especially right now when the healthcare system is really overwhelmed.
So after putting such a bleak picture, what is the way forward? So this Swiss cheese model of the pandemic, the ways to rather combat the pandemic was shared last year by Dr. Ian McKay. And to just explain it simply is, most of us must have seen Tom and Jerry when we were little, or might be seeing it right now also. You would always see a Swiss cheese cut triangle and Jerry going in from one hole and coming out of the other. That is not the case. The holes are never aligned in a Swiss cheese. If you take slices, the holes are at different levels. So that's why it is not completely permeable. So the same way right now, the barriers which we have, or rather the measures which we can take to protect ourselves from infection are multiple, but no single measure is foolproof. Whether it be vaccines, whether it be physical distancing, whether it be masks, whether it be social distancing, whether it be hand sanitization, and also responsibilities like adequate health infrastructure, and rather early testing, and early isolation and rapid tracing of contacts. So each has its role to play. It is not like one method is foolproof, but when we the maximum of these slices come together, they will prevent the virus to travel through those holes and infect you. So that's why the more the number of precautions we take for ourselves and our family, the better is the chance of protecting us. So multiple layers improve success. So in spite of the current situation, if we try to protect ourselves, try to take the proper measures, the 3 golden rules of masking, social, physical distancing, and regular hand washing, if we follow and try to be prepared, and try to take care of our general health, hum honge kamyab. Thank you so much. So we are just taking questions in the chat box right now. So how to differentiate allergic symptoms and one shown by COVID? So in allergic symptoms, generally there will be no fever, there will be no associated body ache, or there will be no fall in oxygen levels. So that is the way. Antigen test.
Can you please throw some light on antigen testing? Rapid antigen test is something like a pregnancy kit. So they take a nasal swab and they put the thing in that well kind of a thing. The results are shown in 5 minutes. If the rapid antigen test, if it is positive, that means you 100% have COVID. But there are 50% chances where the rapid antigen test can not pick up COVID cases. So RT-PCR, you need to confirm with RT-PCR. The rapid antigen test negative patients, if the test is negative, you have to confirm whether the RT-PCR is positive or not positive, because it is not a very sensitive or a very specific test. And also there are a lot of labs which have run out of kits. There is a shortage of kits. So now the rapid antigen test is not very easily available.
One more good question. If there is a cough and the reports are negative, so a negative report does not mean that because there are 20% chances that the report might come negative if the viral load is low in the pharynx or the nasopharynx. So in that case, you continue to isolate yourself, monitor yourself. If your symptoms don't go away, you retest yourself on the 3rd or 4th day. Yeah. And please isolate yourself, even if the test is negative.
Continue with oxygen monitoring. If it goes low, then we might need to confirm whether you have COVID or no through a CT scan.
So I think the session is ending. If there are more questions, you can just log in again through the same link. Yes, Gaurav, reinfection cases are being seen.
Because
the current strain is a mutant strain, reinfection cases are being seen. If the cough is not going away, obviously we need to take just take symptomatic treatment. It's a post-viral cough which goes off after some time.